It was Thanksgiving morning, and I woke up to an empty house. Not just quiet, but empty. The kind of silence that screams abandonment. My entire family, my parents, my siblings, even my cousins who were supposedly visiting, they were all gone. They had packed up, left a hastily scribbled note, and boarded a flight for a luxury Thanksgiving trip without me. Can you even imagine? Waking up on a day meant for family and gratitude, only to find yourself completely, utterly alone, with the knowledge that your own flesh and blood deliberately excluded you from a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. Tell me, was I wrong for what I did next, or would you have done the exact same thing? Let me take you back to how it all began, because this isn't just some random act of cruelty. It's a culmination of years of feeling like the invisible sibling, the afterthought, the one who just existed. My family has always been a bit much, loud, boisterous, constantly competing, and I was always the quiet one, the observer. I wasn't the star athlete like my brother, Mark, or the academic prodigy like my sister Sarah. I wasn't even the rebellious artistic type like my cousin Emily, who always got all the dramatic attention. I was just me, and for a long time I thought that was okay. I thought that being reliable, being the one who always helped out without asking for praise, being the one who listened when no one else would, I thought that earned you a certain kind of respect, a quiet love that didn't need grand gestures. Boy, was I wrong. Our family has this tradition, like many, of celebrating Thanksgiving together. It's usually a chaotic affair at my parents' house. My mom is a whirlwind in the kitchen. My dad tries to supervise the football game, and the rest of us just mill around, occasionally helping, mostly just eating and bickering. This year, though, there had been whispers for months. My aunt, my mom's sister, had married incredibly well, and her husband Richard owned a string of high-end resorts. He'd apparently offered a once-in-a-lifetime deal for a week-long stay at their newest Caribbean resort, all expenses paid, for the entire extended family. It sounded too good to be true, and honestly, a little overwhelming for my introverted self, but I was excited in my own way. Imagine turquoise waters, endless sunshine, gourmet food, and no dishes to wash. I'd always dreamed of a tropical vacation. The catch, of course, was that it was over Thanksgiving, so the usual family dinner was out. Everyone had been buzzing about it for weeks. Group chats were constantly pinging with flight details, packing lists, and jokes about who would get the best poolside cabana. I was included in all of it, or so I thought. I'd given my passport information, confirmed my availability, and even bought a new swimsuit. My mum had even asked me to help her pack a few days before, which, looking back, was probably just a distraction tactic. She kept saying, "Oh, we need to make sure we have enough sunscreen for everyone. And don't forget the kids' goggles." All while her eyes darted around nervously. I just attributed it to her usual pre-trip stress. My dad was even more cagey, always changing the subject whenever I brought up the flight times. I figured he was just being his usual forgetful self. The day before Thanksgiving, a Wednesday, was supposed to be the pre-travel day. Everyone was supposed to come over to my parents' house. We'd have a casual dinner and then wake up early for the flight. I arrived around noon, ready to help with last-minute preparations. The house was quiet, too quiet. My mom was bustling around, humming to herself, but no one else was there. "Where is everyone?" I asked, my brow furrowing. She just waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, you know Mark, always late." Sarah had a last-minute work thing. Emily's probably still finishing up that art project. It sounded plausible enough. We had a simple dinner, just the two of us, which was unusual for a family gathering, even a pre-travel one. My dad arrived home late, looking tired, and barely spoke a word. I went to bed feeling a little confused, but still excited for the next day. I dreamt of warm sand and crystal clear water. My alarm was set for 4 a.m. Our flight was supposedly at 7 a.m., which meant leaving the house by 5 a.m. at the latest. I woke up with a jolt, adrenaline coursing through me. I jumped out of bed, threw on the outfit I'd laid out, and grabbed my pre-packed suitcase. As I stepped into the hallway, a sense of unease washed over me. The house was silent, eerily silent. No sounds of hurried packing, no excited chatter, no clatter of breakfast being made. I walked into the living room, and it was empty. The kitchen was pristine. My parents' bedroom door was ajar, and the bed was neatly made. Their suitcases, which had been sitting by the door for days, were gone. My heart started to pound. This couldn't be happening. I frantically searched the house, calling out names. Mom, Dad, Mark, Sarah. Only the echo of my own voice answered me. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Mark. Hey sis, sorry about this. Last minute change of plans. Flight got moved up. Didn't want to wake you. See you when we get back. My blood ran cold. Didn't want to wake me? I was literally in the same house. I scrolled through my phone. No missed calls. No texts about a flight change. Nothing. Then I saw it. On the kitchen counter, underneath Amagunetsto of a smiling sun, was a crumpled piece of paper. It was a note, hastily scrawled in my mom's handwriting. Sweetheart, so sorry. The flight was moved up unexpectedly. We tried to call, but you were sound asleep. Didn't want to disturb you. We'll bring you back something nice. Love, Mom and Dad. My hands started to shake. Didn't want to disturb me. It was a blatant, insulting lie. I had been in my room, not sedated. They could have knocked. They could have yelled. They could have done anything other than just leave. They hadn't tried to call. My phone logs were clear. They had just gone. They had looked me in the eye the day before, knowing full well what they were going to do. The tears came then, hot and stinging. Not just tears of disappointment for a missed trip, but tears of pure, unadulterated heartbreak. It wasn't about the vacation. It was about the deliberate exclusion, the betrayal. It was about realizing that I was so disposable, so insignificant, that my own family could orchestrate this elaborate charade and leave me behind without a second thought, without even a proper explanation. I was just forgotten. On Thanksgiving of all days, I remember standing there in the empty house, the silence amplifying every painful thought, the smell of stale coffee, and something faintly sweet from the night before, a ghost of a family gathering that never truly included me. I thought about all the times I'd been overlooked, all the times my achievements had been downplayed, all the times I'd offered help and been quietly accepted, but never truly appreciated. It was like a montage of every instance, where I was the last one picked for a team, the one whose birthday was forgotten, the one whose opinion was brushed aside. This wasn't just a Thanksgiving trip. This was the final, undeniable proof that I wasn't truly part of them. The initial shock slowly gave way to a simmering rage, a cold, hard anger that settled deep in my gut. How could they? How could my own parents, my siblings, do something so incredibly cruel and thoughtless? They didn't just forget me. They chose to leave me. They actively plotted and executed this. My mom, who claimed to love me, lied to my face. My dad, who I always thought was fair, went along with it. My siblings, who were supposed to be my allies, were complicit. They were probably already on a beach somewhere, sipping cocktails, laughing, completely oblivious, or worse, completely uncaring about the shattered mess they'd left behind. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here I was, alone on Thanksgiving, feeling like a punchline to a very cruel joke. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have just let it go? Would you have tried to reach them, begging for an explanation? Or would you have decided, like I did, that enough was enough, and it was time for a little Thanksgiving surprise of your own? I stared at that pathetic note again, the flimsy piece of paper an insult in itself. We'll bring you back something nice, like a cheap souvenir could ever make up for this. I crumpled it up and threw it across the kitchen. My eyes fell on the calendar. A full week, 7 days of them living it up in paradise, while I was stuck here, nursing a broken heart and a bruised ego. That's when the idea formed, a tiny spark of rebellion that quickly grew into a roaring fire. If they wanted to play games, I could play too, and I could play a lot better. I started by calmly, methodically making a list. What would hurt them the most? Not financially, not physically, but emotionally, in a way that would make them truly see what they had done. I remembered something my mom had been freaking out about for weeks. Her prized antique china collection. It was a wedding gift from her grandmother, supposedly priceless, and she guarded it like a dragon with its gold. She had packed it away in several boxes in the attic, carefully wrapped, just in case anything happened while they were away. My first act of defiance was to climb into that attic. The air was thick with dust and memories, none of them particularly fond at that moment. I found the boxes. Inside, nestled in layers of bubble wrap and newspaper, were the delicate hand-painted plates, cups, and saucers, each piece a symbol of her obsession, her carefully curated image of a perfect life. I pulled out one of the plates, feeling its delicate weight in my hand. It was beautiful, undeniably, and then, with a surge of adrenaline, I dropped it. It shattered on the concrete floor of the attic, the sound echoing loudly in the silence. It wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. I didn't smash them all. That would have been too easy, too obvious. I wanted to inflict a slow, agonizing pain, like 1,000 paper cuts. So, I took one piece from each set. A teacup here, a saucer there, a small dessert plate. Just enough so that when they unpacked it, they would find gaping holes in their perfect collection. Tiny, irreparable voids. They would know instantly that it wasn't an accident. They would know that I knew. Next, there was my dad. He was obsessed with his golf clubs. Not just any golf clubs, but a custom-made set, meticulously cared for, polished after every single game. They were his pride and joy, a source of endless bragging rights. He kept them in a locked shed in the backyard, but I knew where he hid the spare key. Under a loose brick near the rose bushes. I retrieved the key, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Inside the shed, the clubs gleamed in the dim light. I didn't break them. That would be too easily replaced. Instead, I carefully, deliberately filed a tiny, almost imperceptible notch into the head of each iron and wood, just enough to subtly alter the swing, to throw off his game, to make him question his own skill, to make him constantly wonder what was wrong. He'd never quite hit a clean shot again, and he'd never know why. The quiet, insidious sabotage felt far more satisfying than outright destruction. My brother Mark was next. His weakness? His gaming PC. It was his baby. His entire identity wrapped up in flashing lights and high-performance graphics cards. He spent all his money on upgrades, tweaking it, optimizing it. He even had a custom-built liquid cooling system. I wasn't going to destroy it. Instead, I carefully opened up the case, found the reservoir for the liquid cooling, and added a minuscule amount of a very fine abrasive dust I'd collected from the workshop. Not enough to immediately clog it, but enough to slowly, over weeks, months, wear down the pump, corrode the delicate internal components, causing intermittent overheating and system crashes. He'd spend countless hours troubleshooting, replacing parts, never quite understanding why his perfectly built machine was failing him. It was a digital ghost, haunting his prized possession. And then there was Sarah, my sister, the academic overachiever, whose life revolved around her perfectly organized planner and her meticulously documented life plan. She had a small, encrypted external hard drive where she kept all her important documents, her career portfolio, her academic papers, even her perfectly curated travel photos. I knew the password, a ridiculous string of numbers and inside jokes from our childhood that she'd never changed. I plugged it in. Instead of deleting anything, which she'd immediately notice, I rearranged everything. I renamed files, moved folders, changed dates, fragmented her perfectly ordered digital world into a chaotic, unsearchable mess. She'd spend days, weeks, trying to piece it back together, constantly feeling like something was missing, like her control over her own life was slipping away. And when she finally found a document, it would be in the wrong place, under the wrong name, a subtle but persistent reminder of the chaos I had sown. Emily, my cousin, was a bit trickier. Her weakness was her image, her dramatic flair, her carefully constructed persona of the misunderstood artist. She was always posting these highly curated, ethereal selfies and deep captions on Instagram. I went through her phone, which she'd carelessly left charging in the living room, probably assuming no one would touch it. I didn't delete her pictures. Instead, I found her archive folder where she kept all the embarrassing, unflattering photos she'd ever taken, the ones she thought no one would ever see. And then, I carefully, painstakingly, uploaded them to her main feed, scattering them among her perfectly crafted aesthetic. A bad hair day selfie next to a professionally shot landscape, a goofy childhood photo right after a moody black and white portrait. It would utterly destroy her curated image, make her account a laughingstock among her carefully cultivated followers, and she wouldn't be able to delete them fast enough. I finished my work late that night, the house still silent, but now imbued with a different kind of energy. It wasn't the silence of abandonment anymore, but the charged silence of impending retribution. I cleaned up any traces of my activity, leaving everything exactly as I'd found it. The china boxes resealed, the shed locked, the PC case closed, the hard drive unplugged, Emily's phone back on the charger. No one would ever suspect. The week that followed was strange. I spent Thanksgiving alone, ordering a ridiculously large pizza and watching movies, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. I ignored all their texts and calls, which eventually started trickling in after a few days of silence. "How are you doing?" My mom would text, completely oblivious, or pretending to be. "Missing you," my sister wrote. I just chuckled. Oh, they were going to be missing a lot more than just me. They returned late Saturday night, a full week later. I made sure I was home, sitting in the living room, pretending to read a book, my heart thumping a silent drum against my ribs. I heard the frantic energy of their arrival, the excited chatter about their trip, the clatter of suitcases. My mom spotted me first. "Oh, sweetheart, you're still here," she exclaimed, rushing over to give me a hug. I stiffened. "Where else would I be, Mom?" I asked, my voice flat. She looked a little uncomfortable, then quickly launched into stories about the amazing resort, the incredible food, the endless sunshine. My dad tried to make small talk about my week, but I just gave vague answers. My siblings were too engrossed in showing off their tans and souvenirs to pay me much mind. The unraveling began the next day. I heard my mom shriek from the attic first, a high-pitched, guttural sound of pure anguish. My dad ran up, then came down minutes later, his face pale. "Someone's been in the china," he fumed, looking around suspiciously. "Pieces are missing. It's like someone specifically took them." My mom was practically in tears, lamenting her irreplaceable heirlooms. I just sat there, sipping my coffee, feigning concern. "Oh no, Mom, that's awful. Are you sure you packed everything right?" She just glared at me, suspicion creeping into her eyes. Then came my dad's golfing debacle. He went to the driving range a few days later, excited to show off his tan and his improved swing. He came back, livid, throwing his clubs into the garage. "They're ruined," he roared. "Every single shot is off. It's like the heads are bent, but they're not. Something's wrong." He spent hours meticulously examining them, comparing them to online pictures, blaming the cheap range balls. He even tried to return them to the pro shop, but they found no apparent damage. He eventually bought a new set, but I knew, and he would forever feel that subtle, infuriating imperfection in his game. Mark's computer started acting up within a couple of weeks. Intermittent crashes, overheating, slow performance. He spent countless nights tearing it apart, replacing fans, upgrading the power supply, convinced it was a manufacturing defect or a software bug. He even took it to a specialist, who found nothing overtly wrong. His gaming clan started making fun of him for his lag. The frustration was eating him alive. He became irritable, withdrawn, obsessed with fixing his broken machine. But the most satisfying was Sarah. She started her new job, a prestigious position she'd been working towards for years. She needed to access her portfolio, her references, her carefully constructed brand. She called me one night, her voice trembling. "I can't find anything. My hard drive is a mess. Everything's in the wrong place. I swear I put this here, and now it's gone. I look like an idiot." I offered feigned sympathy, suggesting she might have accidentally dragged and dropped things. "No," she wailed. "It's like someone deliberately scrambled it. My entire life is on that drive." The panic in her voice was music to my ears. She eventually had to hire a data recovery specialist, who told her it was a highly unusual case of fragmented and corrupted data, taking weeks and costing a fortune to partially recover, with some files permanently lost. Her perfectly ordered life was in disarray. Emily predictably had the most public meltdown. She woke up one morning to a flood of comments and DMs on Instagram. "OMG, Emily, what are these pics? You okay, hun? Your account got hacked." She discovered the archived photos, now proudly displayed on her main feed. Her carefully curated image was shattered. She deleted them all in a frenzy, but the damage was done. The internet never forgets. She went offline for weeks, mortified. Her carefully constructed online persona crumbling around her. They never connected the dots, not completely anyway. They suspected something, of course. My mum would give me these long, searching looks. My dad would clear his throat whenever I was in the room. My siblings would occasionally mention their bad luck or weird glitches around me, but they never, ever openly accused me. Because how could they? How could they admit that the quiet, overlooked sibling, the one they so easily abandoned, was capable of such meticulous, calculated revenge? They couldn't. It would mean confronting their own cruelty, their own thoughtlessness. And that, I knew, was a far more painful realization than any shattered china or broken golf swing. I still live in that house for now. Things are different. They're wary of me, almost cautious. They try harder to include me, to ask about my day, to pretend like nothing happened. But the underlying current of suspicion, an unspoken accusation, is always there. A subtle tension that permeates every family gathering. And sometimes, when I see my mum looking wistfully at her diminished china cabinet, or my dad sighing over a missed golf shot, or Mark furiously rebooting his computer, or Sarah meticulously reorganizing her digital files, or Emily posting a rare, carefully filtered selfie, I allow myself a small secret smile, because I know, and they know I know, and that to me is the ultimate Thanksgiving feast. So, like this video, if you are on my side, subscribe for more stories like this, where the quiet ones finally get their due, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Tell me, was my revenge justified, or did I go too far? I'll see you all in the next story.